You're listening to Prophecy Talk with Erika Grey.
Trump and Putin, the U.S. and Russia, and Bible prophecy. In the area of Bible prophecy, I favored a Trump presidency because his election provides a clear path to the fulfillment of what we know will occur in end-time Bible prophecy, and more specifically will help propel events forward, such as adding impetus to the EU completing the formation of its own army, which will help the EU evolve into the powerful final world empire foretold in Bible prophecy. There is another area in Bible prophecy that a Trump presidency will help fulfill, and that is in the area of U.S.-Russia relations, which we actually see a hint of in Bible prophecy. The question of many students of Bible prophecy is, what will happen to the U.S. in Bible prophecy? We know that the U.S. will decline, but based on Jeremiah 6:22, will remain a great nation. Jeremiah 6:22 states, "Thus saith the Lord, behold, a people come from the north country, and a great nation will be raised from the farthest parts of the earth." In the Bible, the north country in end-time Bible prophecy is Russia. In chapter 11 of the book of Daniel, we see the king of the north again mentioned in the conflicts that precede the battle of Armageddon. Daniel 11:40 tells us, "At the time of the end, the king of the south shall attack him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots, horsemen, and with many ships. And he shall enter the countries, overwhelm them, and pass through." The Antichrist, as head of the European Union, will face an attack from a southern African nation and also an attack from Russia. We see the north again mentioned in Daniel 11:44 and also from the east, meaning China. We also see the repetition of the Antichrist invading as many countries as possible. We see in the next verse that his headquarters is in Israel. The Antichrist will lay siege to Jerusalem and will make Jerusalem his headquarters, and he will overtake Israel. But the Bible tells us next in verse 44, "But news from the east and north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go out with great fury to destroy and annihilate many." In verse 45 it continues, "And he shall plant the tents of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and no one will help him." We get another detail in Jeremiah 6:22. "Behold, a people comes from the north country, and a great nation will be raised from the farthest parts of the earth." In this verse, we learn that Russia is not alone, but is in a mini coalition with a great nation from the farthest parts of the earth, which to Israel would be identified as the United States. In this verse, we see the U.S. and Russia aligning as allies. These battles precede Armageddon and most likely begin the start of armies uniting at the Battle of Armageddon. These relations may very well begin with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, who are soon to usher in new relations with Russia and the U.S. and begin to form a relationship that will lend to the fulfillment of this prophecy. Those who study Bible prophecy might ask about how the Ezekiel 38 war fits into U.S. relations with Russia. It doesn't. It is a separate relationship. And while I do not see the U.S. condoning the action, which is the topic of an upcoming report, the relationship seeds that will be sown will become strong enough to weather that period and be rekindled near the time of the end. Meanwhile, from a geopolitical perspective, improving U.S. relations with Russia is a good idea. Vladimir Putin has taken an unjustified beating in the world press. The U.S. media and previous U.S. governments still hold a Cold War mentality, and their actions within NATO reflect this. The Cold War ended, and now under Donald Trump, that reality will be realized. Meanwhile, for what is to come, for what is yet future for the U.S., for the geopolitical framework that we will come into with the U.S. being a declined power and the EU taking the torch, the U.S. will be wise to have Russia as one of its allies. Even then, it will not balance the power of the EU at its height of its strength, but will be enough to wage the final conflicts the Bible describes, including the battle to end all battles, Armageddon. For more on end-time Bible prophecy, subscribe to me today on Prophecy Talk.